on France 24. Well, let's stay with Syria. We've been telling you that the country is marking 7 years of conflict today. I'm joined in the studio by Mayssa Awad, France 24's reporter. Now, Mayssa, you've been covering this conflict, typically in the north of the country. I mean, based on what you've seen, talk us through some of the defining moments of this Syrian conflict.
There are many defining moments, but if I had to talk about one, I would say definitely the rise, this spectacular rise of the Islamic State group. Ideologically, this group has managed to gain influence among Sunni population. Basically, it also imposed itself as a strong adversary to other extremist Islamic groups such as Al-Qaeda. Also, militarily speaking, it managed to control big and important cities in Syria between 2011 and 2015. And everything was planned according to very specific military plans. That's why this group has controlled so many oil refineries. It had enough money to recruit so many peoples, not inside Syria only, but also abroad in the world. And its trademark for years was creating explosive engines, only mentioning the word Daesh. It's the acronym of Islamic State group in Syria. When we were talking to people throughout these years, was enough to make them shiver with fear. So also, one specific trademark between two brackets for this group was this capacity to send hundreds and hundreds of suicide bombers. Let's watch this extra together. In 2016 in Shaddadi, I was with my colleague Romeo Langlois when a suicide bomber tried to attack the position that we were in. Let's watch.
Fire! Fire! Shoot that vehicle!
Quick, comrades.
The machine gun!
It might look like an ordinary truck, but it's actually a pickup packed with explosives and driven by a suicide bomber. Filmed from another angle by a Kurdish fighter, the IS driver hurtles towards our position.
It's okay, stop.
Images of a terrifying time of the France 24 team that you were in, experienced on the ground. Mayssa, when it comes to the conflict on the ground, there are several players in this conflict. Talk us through some of them.
Well, we cannot talk about the players without mentioning two important players. That's the United States of America and Russia. Let's not forget that at the beginning of this war, talking about the foreign forces on the ground was kind of a taboo. It took basically till the mid of 2016 for the President Barack Obama to say clearly that he has, or the United States has, forces on the ground. But now it is clear for everybody that it's a proxy war. Now the deal for the time being is that the United States of America controls the east of the Euphrates River, while Russia is in control for the Syrian parts on the west of the Euphrates River. Of course, I'm talking about only the northern part of Syria. And also, it took till only March last year to see these images of the armored American convoy crossing on the north of Syria to go to the city of Manbij. But in 2016, we had this rare access to a team of coalition commandos task force that was working on the ground, and these images were basically the only images that enabled us to, a little bit to understand what kind of weapons are being used on the ground and how the Americans helped exactly Syrian Democratic Forces and mainly Kurdish fighters in there. Let's watch.
Bulldozers pave the way for the advance, one trench at a time. But what we see next takes us completely by surprise. Western Special Forces units are known to be operating in the area, but prefer to keep a very low profile. The official role of these French, British and US military advisors is to supervise the coalition's airstrikes, prevent friendly fire incidents and limit collateral damage.
Now, Mayssa, you covered the liberation battle last year for the city of Raqqa, of course, a strategic city. I mean, can we say that the fight for that city is completely over?
I don't think so, especially that the Syrian government said that it still considers that the city is occupied. It is clear that Damascus is trying to re-control Raqqa. Raqqa now is under the control of Syrian Democratic Forces, mainly by Kurdish fighters in there. That's number one. And when we cannot talk only about the end of the combat. If we see the amount of destruction in Raqqa, we have to say that it's huge. The reconstruction will take years and years to go on. So many displaced people from the city, they didn't come back to their cities and to their homes right now. And for the time being, every single day we hear about people getting killed or injured because of the landmines that were used. And let's not forget one thing. Basically, the huge amount of destruction is caused mainly by the coalition airstrikes. Let's watch together the beginning of the battle.
Though the streets appear deserted, some civilians are still hiding. They dig themselves in, hoping to survive. They only come out when the fighting stops. Some of them come to seek help in this makeshift SDF base. They are often in shock.
We lived through terrifying days. You can't imagine. Bombs fell like pebbles, like rain. Our neighbours are dead. Abu Bandar and his entire family were torn to shreds. There were body parts everywhere. Another neighbour, Abu Hamas, was hit in the head by shrapnel and died on the spot. Qutaiba, his son, lost his hand.
So, Mayssa, Raqqa, a city completely destroyed. There's so much work to be done in a country that's been devastated by war.
Yes, and people, as we just see, people are really traumatized, and it will take years to heal all of these wounds. And when we talk about reconstruction, we have also to talk about reconciliation. There has been many attempts to try to make people talk to each other again. Mainly, we know that we had different points of views between Kurds and Arabs in this region of Syria. There has been an initiative to form what they call Raqqa City Council, basically that is formed by religious people, head of tribes who have influence in there. But the most important question is what should be done with people who were fighting alongside the Islamic State group? That's a huge question. When we were in Syria a few weeks ago, we managed to see or to go to a tribunal that is called anti-terrorist tribunal. It's led by Kurdish judges, and they explain to us how hard it is, first of all, to judge people who are being accused to take part of the fights, because the laws aren't elaborated, are not there. The texts are short on this subject, and it's a very sensitive issue in there. And we had a rare access and an exclusive access to one tribunal when we've seen one accused man being confronted alone to three judges. Maybe it's interesting to see the pictures and then we can comment them.
Terrorist judges are trying this former Islamic State group member. It's the first time journalists have been allowed to attend such a trial. The accused appears before the court alone, without a lawyer.
Because of the war, we have not had the opportunity of training lawyers to defend the accused. It is true that this is an important shortcoming on our part, but our laws and our autonomous constitution recognize the right of defense as a sacred right throughout the northern region of Syria. It is only a matter of time before we have lawyers to defend the accused in this court.
So much work is still to be done in there. What's really important now is that a war is still going on in Afrin. Things might change once again in this war, and after 7 years, one thing is sure: no end, unfortunately, is in sight for now.
Mayssa Awad, you've been covering Syria for us closely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's stay in the